Hello, 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 everyone. Dr. David checking in. I had some free time on a Sunday, so I thought I would just check in with y'all and see how you're doing. And I had some questions. So let's see. Oh my God, we got Monty's in here. We got Heather. Oh, geez, everybody's free on a Sunday, huh? Good evening, everyone. How's it all doing? Sometimes I wish that we could just talk. We'd get so crazy so quick. So listen, I'm not going to be on for very long. One of the reasons I wanted to jump on was because first of all, I haven't talked to you guys in forever. So there's Susan and Liam and Paul and Ether. Couple of things. Some of you know this, some of you don't. I'm going to post an announcement later. Tomorrow we're running a webinar, Hidden Laws of Attraction. We're going to go over some of my approaches to metaphysics, manifestation, things of that nature, which, by the way, 2025 is going to be a huge year for new stuff. Like if you've liked our original vibrational influence programs and Hidden Laws of Attraction and stuff like that, the stuff I got coming out that I'm working on right now for 2025 is going to be off the fucking charts. No pun intended. But and that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on real quick. Because I haven't connected with you guys in a while, but also because I wanted to get your opinion on something. Like I said, I'm putting together the webinar offer for tomorrow, right? You guys know how our webinars work. We have, 2.5 hours of just training. I show you how to go, where to go next, what you want to learn next, things like that. There's always great offer connected to what we do, even though that's not the focus. My question is I can offer, if you guys had a choice between the Unleashing the Magic Within training, which you saw me advertising for the past couple months, going to a vibrational influence training, or face reading, which one would you guys rather attend? Just as in general, would you guys rather have the Unleashing the Magic kind of a style, which I've been talking about? Would you like to do our vibrational influence training, or would you be more interested in face reading? Just type in the chat your top pick, just to keep it simple, right? My background is backwards. Let me see if I can do something about that. That's funny because it's not backwards on my camera. See, if I mirror it, now my shit's backwards. But this is actually, let me see where we're at here. So let's see here. I should cover 3 magic questions protocol. Well, I can do that. Liam says, thanks for the shout out. Liam says, Unleashing the Magic. Jason says, Unleashing the Magic. Susan says, magic. You guys like magic for some reason? KW says vibrational. Lucas says, Unleashing the Magic Within. Yeah, it's looking like, again, like I said, the Unleashing the Magic seminar that we've got coming up in Vegas is a test of concept. If I can do what I think I can do with this material, then there will be Unleashing the Magic 1, 2, 3, 4, because it's kind of my approach to initiation into Hermetics, but with a much more pragmatic set of skill sets. So it's obvious that you guys want me to, let's suppose for a moment that I were going to add a VIP ticket, one of those mysterious VIP tickets onto my webinar tomorrow. I'm assuming that you guys would very much like it to be to Unleashing the Magic Within. Would that be accurate? Okay, Kat says down the road, vibrational healing. Okay. Derek Brown, Luce says Unleashing the Magic. Hi, Hypno, Ivy. Hi, Ivy. Heather says, I have a laundry list of products I want purchase after I've, okay. For those of you who are into the woo, but practical woo, then you definitely want to join me tomorrow for tomorrow's Hidden Laws of Attraction webinar. Okay, well, you guys have given me some really good marketing intelligence. So now it's my turn. What do you guys want to know about? How can I help? Ether says, I want to know more about hermeneutics as well. Everything we teach is based in hermeneutics, whether it's hypnosis, influence skills, hidden laws of attraction, vibrational influence regression, every single thing that we're doing, the principles that underlie it are in the mystery schools. They're in the hermetic traditions. That we just don't use those terms or give you the ancient sayings, or we give you all the neuroscience that supports everything we're teaching you. But the masters, the ancient masters, they had ways to access these phenomena centuries ago. And a lot of that was lost or deliberately kept hidden. And I won't bore you with the fact that you've been lied to, misled, and basically held back on for hundreds of years. But I'm doing my best to balance that equation in a safe and responsible way. So there's some, in the past 2 weeks, I have uncovered more mind-blowing things. Needs testing, but if they're even remotely true, like some of my other stuff is, then we have some major game-changing stuff, if you're willing to do the trainings. Okay. Prokopios Kukokulis says, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? All the time. All the time. I don't know any human who hasn't, unless they're delusional. Yeah. Let's see here. Renee says the worst are fluppics. What's a fluppics? Okay. Heather says, oh, but you know I love the magic in the woo. Okay. Armadas Interceptor says, hey, David, I have a question. I'm using ChatGPT Pro and Claude 3 AI. My question is, how would you use AI to practice role-playing the 3 magic questions architecture? All right. So I'm assuming that you want ChatGPT to be your practice partner. Yes? Okay. What you need to do is you need to set up a bunch of prompts telling ChatGPT what role to play, what experience they've had, and how to respond when it senses its own words being used back. Right? So you'd have to create a prompt to do those things, right? So based on what we've learned about 3 magic questions, you'd have to build those things into the prompt. Like, it enhances connection, makes you feel more romantically connected, stimulates attraction, interest, focus, attention. You'd have to build those things into the prompt. So when you responded to ChatGPT, it would respond like a human. Okay. So it's all in how you contextualize the prompt. The magic is in the preframes. Okay. Cat down the road says vibrational healing. Edie says, hi. Let's see here. It feels like I've been experiencing it as well. How do you work through it? Just keep going. That's really it. If you can do it, you can do it, right? At the end of the day, feeling like an imposter has little bearing on whether you can actually do the work or not. Because if every time you're called to perform, you can get it done. Doesn't matter how you feel inside, right? So more often than not, that's when I just step into my master and commander metaframe or my rock star metaframe, and I step into that identity and I just go for it, right? That's where having an acting background really helps. Armada Intercept says, yes, Heather, you can instruct GPT to take on a persona, probably better with people. Oh, it's absolutely, Heather, it's always better with people. Always better with people, right? Because there are certain, there are certain things that, GPT just doesn't get about us yet. It's getting closer. The scary part is it's getting closer and closer and closer. And I've been given access recently to some more advanced AI models that are terrifying in what they can do. But as long as they remain the tool rather than the tyrant, we'll be good. Liam Folan, not a question, just testimony. IBD and Killer Influence successfully landed me a major business deal and new potential lifelong friends. I am so grateful to Planet David. Bravo, Liam. Well done. Keep going. Pay it forward. Robin, how to become a better boyfriend for someone who has gone through some sexual trauma in childhood. Okay, great question. The bottom line, it's the same. And honestly, it's the same. The majority of it is the same information that um, I would give to anybody else, regardless of the context. Clean up your shit. Realize that the people in your past were playing a role in a pattern. That if you've transcended that pattern is no longer true for you. Decide who you want to be instead and build in the quality using the IBD system, for example. Use the qualities and characteristics that you want more of in that person. If you want to be a better boyfriend or girlfriend, you have to know what. And for those of you who've read read my program, Secret Orgasm Tips, it was one of the very first products I ever put out. It was a course built around the idea of becoming your lover's ideal partner, sexually, romantic, learning how to fulfill them on a deep level. So the first thing that you have to understand is that every human being on the planet is moving through the world with an internal checklist, a template, if you will, that represents their ideal partner. And they're moving through the world projecting that template onto everyone they meet. And every time they find a match, they check a box and they become more attracted. Every time they find a mismatch, they slash through it, they become less attractive. Secret Orgasm Tips and its related courses were all about figuring out what a person's template is in the shortest amount of time possible so that you could perfectly match it. And then expressing that, embodying that template so that everything about what you did and how you did it checked all the boxes for that partner. That is probably, in terms of, I taught it in the context of sexuality, but the truth is it's a template for life and any form of extremely satisfying relationships. Now, it presupposes that you have a partner that's willing to do the same thing for you. If they're not willing to do the same thing for you, then you have a choice. You have to educate them or deal with their limitation, right? And if after you educate them, they're still unwilling or unable to fulfill your template, then it's time to say, do I need it? You have to evaluate if this is the right relationship for you. But every human being on the planet is going to have a template and a checklist that they're projecting out into the world. If you want to be a better partner for somebody, you got to clean up your shit, because your shit gets in the way of perceiving what they most need and want and becoming that. But you also have to educate your partner on what you need and want. So you have to understand, acknowledge, and honor each other's templates, right? And we all have them, but a lot of us don't realize consciously what those templates are until we actually talk about them. And a lot of guys and gals don't know how to have that conversation. So a lot of what we do in Secret Orgasm Tips and the related courses that we teach, it's about observation, because people will project that template onto the world. And if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, then you can embody that very, very quickly and really escalate the intensity and the connections in your relationships. But there's a presupposition that you have a partner that is willing to do that for you as well. So I hope that helps, Robin. Shamik Banerjee, how can we turn self-doubt into a trigger to greater self-confidence and greater resourcefulness? Well, I would start with the transformational triad, but then I would start, and then I would add in regression. I would clean up the past. Most of our self-doubt comes from failures we've had in the future or beliefs we've installed from other people that taught us to doubt ourselves, right? And I wouldn't worry too much. I don't worry too much about confidence anymore. And I don't worry too much about the doubts that I have. Because at the end of the day, if we can just make the decision that we're going to do this no matter what gets in our way, no matter how many doubts we have about our ability, if we just decide that we're going to do this and we're going to figure it out, then what tends to happen is you tend to bring about a greater degree of resources to bear on the problem, right? If you decide that you're not going to quit no matter what, then the doubts you have and the confidence you have are largely irrelevant. Confidence for most people is really an after state. In other words, you have this thing you want to accomplish, And maybe you have no confidence in your ability to do it, but you decide, I want that and I'm going to get it no matter what. And you make that plan and you put it into operation, and boom, all of a sudden you nail it. Now you look back and say, yeah, I did that. Now you're confident. But that a lot of times it's not confidence that gets you there. It's the relentless drive to get it. It's that desire to get things, to not quit, to keep going, right? And self-doubt is largely an aspect of what we're focusing on mostly. When self-doubt becomes a problem, it's because we're focusing on all the reasons why it might not work or why we're not good enough, right? As opposed to focusing on all the reasons on how am I going to get this? How am I going to figure this out? What needs to happen? So it's not always a question of the doubts that we have or our inadequacies or whatever, but actually what we're focusing on. You see, if we're always focusing on all the reasons why we can't do something or what could go wrong, it makes us, it starts this little domino effect and makes us not want to take the steps, right? Now, I'm not saying be Pollyanna and be pie in the sky. Evaluate if on a scale of 0 to 10, how much you really want this and how worthwhile it is to you to do it. And then just go for it, right? Doubts are going to happen. Obstacles are going to happen. Problems are going to get in the way. People are going to tell you no. Fuck them. If it's something you want and it's something that's important to you, the relentless drive and desire to go for it is far more important than any confidence, right? Or any self-doubt, right? But if we focus on the doubts, if we focus on the lack of confidence, if we focus on what we don't have or what we think we need to have, instead of just taking the actions, our mind is focused on the wrong thing. We're focused on the things we want instead of the things, or instead of the things we don't want, instead of the things we want. And this is true enough to be true, as we like to say in NLP. You get what you focus on. If you focus on the doubts, you'll get more doubts. If you focus on all the reasons why you can't succeed, you're far more likely to take the actions that lead to success. If you decide you're going to get it no matter what, and you decide that you're going to go over, around, and through whatever obstacles get in your way, I have met very few people with that attitude who've ever failed. What I mean by fails, I mean they didn't eventually become successful. It's all the confident motherfuckers who let anything get in their way that they're the confident people in Poorville, for lack of a better word, right? It's the relentless determination. I have doubts all the time. I say, fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, right? That's my mantra, fuck it, right? And a lot of times there's tremendous power in that, right? But if you constantly focus on if you focus on your doubts and you focus on not being confident, right, then that will grow. So hopefully that helps. Let's see here. Lucas is asking, can I speak a little bit about the Rockstar meta frame? Sounds nice to have this. It's great, actually. We teach it in Killer Influence. It's one of the foundations of our state control modules. What's happened, basically what you're doing in the Rockstar meta frame is you're imagining what it would be like. We have a whole process that we teach in Killer Influence to install this in you, but imagining what it would be like to be the world's most famous, like Taylor Swift or the male equivalent. Everywhere you go, everybody wants to touch the hem, and everybody wants to be part of your entourage. And wherever you go, the party is about you, and you just bring the fun wherever you go. You radiate this charisma. And what would it be like to be that person? And how would that feel? What would you see? What would you hear? What would you smell? What would you taste? And just be that, and just imagine what that would be like to step into that, stand that way, breathe that way, and move through the world as if that's actually true. And when you can do that, then all the mirror neurons in the people around you will start will pick up that message, and they'll start to actually treat you that way. Now, there's a little bit more to it in terms of installation and embodying that. But that, in a nutshell, is what it's about. This is why I always tell you guys, if you want to be a great hypnotist, right? And everything I do, I believe, whether we're talking about magic or whether we're talking about dating or we're talking about sales and marketing or whatever, to me, everything is based in this concept of hypnosis and how the mind works, which ultimately led to NLP and all these other things. But NLP to me is just an advanced form of hypnosis, right? And you take the mystical trainings, well, that's NLP and hypnosis combined with energy, and now you have everything, right? Anyway, So the more you can embody that state, then the more everything about you lines up and people start to respond. They get pulled into your reality bubble and they start to treat you that way. You become progressively more charismatic and fun. Chimon says, Dr. D, some feedback from spinning. I had a friend, a female, who got violently attacked by a male twice her size the other day. Used spinning and got her feeling safe again in 10 minutes. Well done. Well done. Way to pay it forward. Way to change lives. Keep going. Lottie Martin says, hi, sweethearts. Maddie says, message retracted. Alana. Where happened to Alana? Where did she go? Girl sees dragons. Yes, I'm learning this. Lottie Martin says, true. Hold on a second. I think the thing skipped on me. Okay, Alana retracted her message. Thermo Nuke says, yo, Amatis, I'm a manager at Amazon, so I get to interact with all kinds of personalities. So for me, I practice at home, then go to work and supermarket and use it and translates well. Perfect. Alina, can you please talk a little bit about the telepathy of your subconscious mind connecting with your clients? Okay. Alina, I'm going to have to ask you for a little bit more specificity on that question. I'm not sure exactly where the context is, what you're trying to ask me about. If you can give me a little bit more targeted question, I can give you a better answer. And that goes for anybody who's new to Planet David. I love answering questions, and you guys know back in the day, I would spend hours on here with you answering whatever questions you would ask me. But the better the more specific and the more precise the question, the better the answer I can give you. Okay. Sarab is asking how to get out of the friend zone. Okay, Sarab, once again, is this somebody that you want to meet and are afraid of getting friend zoned, or is it somebody you've already met and has friend zoned you? It's very different. Okay. Girl Sees Dragon. Oh my God, I can't believe I just caught this live. How late am I? You're not late at all. You're right on time, Girl Sees Dragons. Armadas. David, are you familiar with Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka? His teachings and yours are vibe really well and have boosted my quality of life. And I am familiar with the name Bashar. I do not believe, I could be wrong. He's been around for a while. I don't believe I'm familiar with any of his content, though. I'm so close to manifesting my dream life, homeless. Any fast tips? I'm so close to manifesting my dream life, homeless. Any fast. So, Girl Sees Dragon. Can you elaborate on that? Is your dream to be homeless? Because I'm not sure I follow this question. Right? Lottie says true. Yes, I'm learning this. In the magical world of energy, what is COVID really? It's nasty, is what it is. All the energetics people, shamans, mystics, qigong healers that I've worked with, who've kind of delved into the COVID thing, they're all telling me that this is not a natural, normally responding energetic thought form. This is something engineered. The thing about any form of illness is that biological life has an analogy in the energetic world. And so a lot of the things that happen to us on a biological and neurological level will have an energetic component to it. And based on what people are telling me, that the COVID thing doesn't act like anything else they've ever encountered. That being said, everything starts with thought and energy, thought and intention. So, and one of the things from a shamanic perspective, everything has an overseeing. I don't want to use the word deity, but when I use deity, I mean deity with a small d, not a big D, right? There's one G, and then there's a lot of little G's, right? And so every plant and every substance and every mineral has overseeing guardians and deities and thought forms created to it, egregores, if you will. Well, that's not exactly as precise as I would like it to be. And COVID has one as well, but it doesn't respond. It doesn't behave based on what I was taught, like the natural ones. So the idea that it was probably engineered is probably not far off. Right? I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, because most conspiracy theories don't really help us. They just distract us, right? Stephen, what's the most powerful sitting posture you have come across for state control while sitting? Okay. Um, Once again, this is a very, very vague question. But if you consult Sifu Jerry Allen Johnson's 18 Rules of Posture, that's pretty much sums it up. Um, that's a lot to go through here, but if you Google 18 Rules of Posture, sitting or standing, these are probably the most optimal postures that you can work. Now, if you're talking about like metaframes, like Master and Commander, um, Rockstar Metaframe, Open Heart Trust Trigger, things like that, then I think that really depends on the context that you're working in. So again, I can't give you a very precise answer because I'm not really sure where we're coming from with this question. Girl Sees Dragons, is this live or is Dr. David in the chat? Been dying to show him my work since I found him. I see and show the dragons in the sky. Well, first of all, I am live and I am in the chat. So there is a little bit of a delay though, between because I'm broadcasting through Zoom. And there's a delay between when the Zoom platform integrates with YouTube and the video shows on your YouTube channel. But the chats are in real time. So if I type something in the chat, it shows up as I type it. Shamik Banerjee, thank you so much, Dr. David. You're welcome. Lottie, there is occasionally something that a big hump, even if stuffed fats. Okay, Lottie, don't know. I'm not sure what you're asking there, sweetie, but God bless you. Madi, what if the partner did the sexual assault? Is there a way to do the homework to bring the love back into the relationship? Okay, Madi, you're going to have to elaborate on this for me, sweetheart. I'm not sure. There's a lot of unanswered questions here that I would need the answers to give you a decent answer. Is there a way to do the work to bring the love back into the relationship? There's always a way. There's always a way to do that if both partners are willing to do the work. I don't believe, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe any relationship is unsalvageable as long as both people are willing to do what's required. And that really comes down to how much do you value the relationship that you have and how committed are you to staying together? And that's something that you really have to, that's a very hard conversation to have sometimes, right? But it's the one that has to happen. Armanis, it's live. He just answered my question. Howdy, dude. Whoa. All right. Liam, would you be willing to put us in a group pain healing hypnotrance? Would like a group spinning or color breathing? You did a group safe place last AMA. Still using the recording. Very powerful. Did I do a group safe place at the AMA? I don't remember doing that. I put the whammy on some people the other day. I was in what class was I in? It wasn't NLP Ultra. Oh, it was the meetup I did. The safe place. Yeah, that wasn't an AMA. That was actually a live meetup with an AMA component to it. I think I know what you're talking about now, Liam. Yeah. Question answered, lol. This is a sync, even if I ever had one. Okay. Cat down. Herald says, thank you. Okay. Red Violet 182, welcome. Do you have any insight on how to reframe the idea of selfishness? I think I could stand to be less selfless, but it comes with guilt. Like I'm not having the best I'm not behaving the best I can be. Well, the first thing that has to happen, Red, is you have to ask yourself, where in my body do I feel that? When is the youngest I remember feeling this way, and who taught me to feel that way? Okay, because if you're feeling that way, somebody taught you that. It's not something you came into the world with. It's something you learned. So find the earliest experience of that and clear it up there. And I think you'll find that the way you think about selfishness versus selfishness selflessness will start to shift. Okay. I'm a big, huge fan of enlightened selfishness. I think enlightened selfishness is the way to go until you don't need it anymore. And if you're enlightenedly selfish, then there'll almost always be a win-win. You'll never find yourself one down when you can, when possible, and everybody gets what they need, right? As you evolve and become more towards saintliness and sainthood, and you just do things because God said so, right? That's a different level of consciousness, right? That I see a lot of people espouse, but very few live. So I'm all about 50 Shades of Gray in terms of life, liberty, and the pursuit of best life possible. So, yeah, enlightened self-interest, Heather says, yes. Because I think that's where everybody gets the best of everybody else, right? Girl sees dragon. Is there a way to confirm that you have successfully manifested? Yeah, it shows up. You either got it or you didn't. It's pretty binary that way, right? But what I think you're asking is, when I do a manifestation process, is there a way to know if it actually took, right? Did the seed that I planted, is it starting to grow, right? And no, there isn't. You just have to assume so, right? A lot of times there will be, especially if you start to evolve your three bodies. Especially if you start to evolve your three bodies, your perceptual and intuitive awarenesses will start to shift, and you will feel when there's a shift on a quantum or vibrational level. The subtle micro pulsations will shift, and you'll know something just changed. Okay. The more work you do in that area, the more rapidly and the more precise those shifts will become. So Jeff, let me see, where's your question? So Jeff says, I'm having or have been having for a while now interfering or opposing thoughts. So as I speak to someone and this happens, I'm tired of it. Jeff, I have no idea what that means. Right? I need you to re-ask the question, buddy. Todor, Dr. Snyder, greetings from Bulgaria. Welcome, Bulgaria. Bulgaria in the house. I have to thank you for the brilliant knowledge you are sharing. Oh, you are so welcome. It's my pleasure. Ether says little d deities are egregores. They can be. They can be. I have so much training now that I've gone through. Not that I teach, but that I've gone through on entities, thought form, deity. It's way deeper than I ever suspected, and I'm so grateful to have the teachers that I have. And part of my karma is to, or my golden path is to pass these things on to those who are ready for it. So sign up, line up. Right? Robin says, as a student, I'm super grateful for Dr. David and his teaching. Thank you, Robin. That's very sweet. Girl sees dragons. Okay, I'm feeling the future version of myself, my new life, homeless, and I'm finally doing instead of trying. Excellent. I really think it's about timing now. Ask if you have any tips to confirm I've manifested. Don't worry about confirming whether you've manifested. Okay. We all want some sign from above to come down and say, yes, you're on the right track. Just keep going. This is something that you're all going to be exposed to. If you haven't, you've already been exposed to it more times than you consciously realize. But we all go through these patterns where we know we're making progress. We know we're making progress. We know we're making, and all of a sudden things start to slow down. And then it feels like we're just on a treadmill and we're not going anywhere, and we don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And those are the moments where all that's necessary is to just keep going. Okay, we call that an ego death, or a transition to a higher level of being, commonly referred to as long dark nights of the soul. The most important thing that you can do at those times is just keep going. Remember the goal, just keep going. These are the times that try our souls. These are the times when our system is leveling up. And then all of a sudden and again, sometimes they last for a few hours, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for a few months, sometimes for a few years. But if you just keep going, they never last. And at the end, you'll come out like a butterfly out of a cocoon or a phoenix rising from the ashes. And you'll look back and you'll say, I'm not that person anymore. Right? I'm not the person who was doing that struggle. I'm something different. That person, they died. Right? Because that's what an ego death is. And they're never pleasant. And they always feel like this is it for me. And it never is. There's always another level that you're moving to. And after a while, you start seeing that meta pattern. You start to realize when you're moving through it. And it never gets easy in the sense that you're going to be shoveling shit. That's just how it works, as you level yourself up. But it becomes familiar because now you realize it's a pattern. It's how the system works. And so rather than all this negative self-talk and doubt about, oh, this is going to kill me, or this is like life is always going to be this way, you lean into it and you just keep going, right? Because that's what's required for all of us. I don't care where you're at on your socioeconomic spectrum, your spiritual walk, your romantic life. This pattern is going to keep happening. There's going to be these moments of where you're just fucking on fire, and then it's going to plateau, and it's going to feel like you're just stuck. And then all of a sudden, one day, it's like you burst through a membrane, and all of a sudden, everything's good again, and everything starts to speed up, and you're up on that upward climb, and then it starts to plateau, and you feel like it's going to last forever and ever and ever, and then all of a sudden, you hit another layer. That's how we evolve as conscious beings, right? But all of those can be major upheavals. You're going to change friends. You're going to change family. You're going to lose partners. You're going to gain partners. Your interests are going to shift. Your values are going to morph. These are all parts of the many deaths and rebirths that we go through as we evolve towards our highest, best version of ourselves, as we fulfill the mission we took on a body to fulfill, right? And a lot of that involves following your bliss, following your passion, following your joy. So whether you embrace the spiritual side of the world or it's just about having your best life ever, it's the same process. So you can just completely divorce the spirituality side of it out of it, and you still have the same basic idea, the same moving forward formula, right? Not dead, can't quit, right? Okay. Red Violet, do you have any insight into how to reframe the idea of selfishness? I think I already read that one. Saket Gupta, hi, love your stuff. Please bring Gary Kleiman for a collab. I'll think about that, but can I ask why? By the way, I actually am a by proxy student of Gary's. I actually have a lot of his tidal wave qigong and stuff like that. So he's a crazy guy. I love him. Liam might have been for a webinar. Safe place, amazing. Marty says, thank you, David, that answered my question. Girl says, make you strong as hell, though. Hell yeah. We came here to get strong, right? We also came here to remember who we are and help one another, right? But this is something that I've been espousing for many years, and I haven't said it in a while, so I'll say it again. You're no good to the world broken. You're no good to the world broke. You're no good to the world sick. You're no good to the world disempowered. It is entirely important to the world that you become the best, happiest, most successful version of yourself possible. Because once you've achieved that, now you're prepared. You qualify to be the person who gives and shares. Okay? If you don't focus on yourself first and then everyone else, that's enlightened selfishness, right? You have far more to give when you're wealthy and healthy and happy and prosperous, filled with energy and time, than when you have no time and you have no energy and you have no money or other resources, you can't help anybody or very few. So the law of practicality demands that if you want to help others, that other has to start with you. Okay. I've never found that to be the wrong approach. Other people might disagree with me. You're more than welcome to disagree with me, but I find that taking the me first attitude, as opposed to the me only attitude, right, is a good way to go. It's easy to be generous when you have abundance. Not so easy when you're wondering where your next meal is coming from, right? And there's a certain nobility to giving when you don't have a lot to give. But those are the exceptions that prove the rule. So do you want to bet on the exceptions, or do you want to work with what the general trends are? Just an idea, just a thought. Mark Kane, I've been diagnosed as a pre-diabetic and have edema in my legs that has begun to cause me pain and mobility problems. I am not overweight. Is there anything mentally or spiritually that would help? 100%. Mark, I don't have on a public forum like this, I can't give you specific Qigong exercises. What I can tell you to do is get the videos on the transformational triad. And the last meetup I posted, how to reprogram your subconscious mind, I think it's going to be the one immediately before this live stream. If you go to that and you watch that video, I do a very, very, very in-depth primer on the principles that govern the mind-body energetic interactions. Start with that. Pay specific attention to the somatic search engine training that I teach in that video, and then use the transformational triad techniques to start isolating the issues behind the pre-diabetic condition and the mobility issues. And I think in a very short time, you're going to see a strong shift in the symptoms that you're experiencing. That's the best I can do in this format right now. Lord Insidious, all the love out of Michigan, in the same boat as Girl Sees Dragon, homeless and seeking serious change. Love and appreciate all you do, Dr. David. Again, same advice. Now, the secret to this, the secret to really becoming abundant is put yourself first. In other words, focus on making yourself healthy, wealthy, and strong. The second part of that, or actually an intrinsic part of that, is if you want to receive revenue, if you want to receive abundance, then as part of your way of moving through the world, you must provide value to others. Value that can be exchanged. The more value you bring to the marketplace, the more value you bring to relationships, the more value you bring to a project, the more you can ask for in return. And that's the secret. The people who want money, the people who want a 6 or 7 or 8 figure business, the secret is about what are you bringing to the world, and what is the value you are asking or demanding in exchange for the value you bring for the world. Now, it's always a good idea to go first, right? I go first all the time. I give you guys all this free information. Why? Because somebody has to go first. Somebody has to provide value. And then you guys take that, you go out in the world, you apply it, you get tremendous value, and you come back. And now we have a relationship. And now if I come up with an opportunity for you guys to level up, you're far more likely to do that. Not because I asked for money up front, but because I gave you value up front, right? And that's the secret for those of you who want to have your own business. It's not about how much money you can make. It really isn't. It's about how much value can I provide? How much value am I asking for in return? And how many people can I get in front of to offer them this opportunity to get that value? So it's the value you offer by the value you ask for times the people that you present it to. And that's at the core of every business that we run, whether it's a therapy business, a coaching business, a widgets business, toilet brush business, right? What's the value? If you want to raise your revenue, you want to raise your income, you've got to provide more value. There's lots of people out there who think they're providing, a metric ton of value, and they're actually giving you a thimbleful worth of crap, right? And they're charging you a metric ton for a thimble. So there is that aspect of it. But by and large, the vast majority of people are actually not providing. They're not providing themselves the value by asking for it. So I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but somebody needed to hear that somewhere, right? Okay, let's see here. So Lord Insidious, all the love out of Michigan. Okay, I read that one. Red Violet, I'm back from a little spin. I recall once you said the color we use to solve our issue is often the color we wear. I blew orange to heal, then realized I'm wearing bright orange currently. Yep, about 50% of the time or better. The color we need to resolve our stuff is the one we're wearing. And we don't realize it. A lot of us don't realize it ever, but let's see here. Amber Harris, yes. Shamik Banerjee, I'm trying to be great at trading. I know what to do, but the nature of it triggers negative interactions with it. And this pattern needs to avoid it. And regress to cause. The problem that we have is our emotions. We're not following the formulas we're taught because our emotions get in the way. But for you, again, regress to cause, transformational triad, go back, review how to reprogram your subconscious mind live that I did last Monday. Here, it's free here on YouTube. And then apply the transformational triad specifically to the trading and the reasons that you're having that fear or that negativity. Alina, do you have a class for advanced students to take your teachings onward? I believe at the moment you are the greatest hypnotist knowledge person of the mind. Well, thank you for that, Alina. I'm always coming up with new classes. Becoming a teacher for Planet David is not easy at all, and it's not cheap, which is why there aren't that many, because I have very high standards for my instructors. I have a lot of people that I've taught that have gone out to teach their own seminars and do their own thing. But there's opportunities for everything. It really depends on how committed you are to the process, right? And I'm happy to talk to you about those things. The mega program or the platinum or mega programs are the fast track to being instructors and teaching, at least with my material. Alina, it would be my greatest pleasure to get a chance to work with you, learn from you, even though, well, there's lots of opportunities at different price points, right? So just stay tuned. We'll be on a webinar tomorrow, and it's probably going to be one of the most cost-effective ways to get a lot of access to a lot of stuff quickly. Like I said, once I jump off the live here tonight, I'm going to post a little blurb in the community tab for tomorrow's webinar. So if you're interested in the fast track to getting into Planet David at whatever level, the webinar offers tomorrow are probably going to be the thing I would take advantage of first. Simi, I haven't seen you in forever. Gosh. One thought on just keep going. What if you don't know the next steps to take? How to still keep going? It starts with what you want. Start with what you want and say, what has to happen to get that? And just work backwards, right? The other thing to do is follow your passion. What are you passionate about? What do I need to do next, right? Because usually as we knock down one goal, another one pops up of where to go next, okay? If that doesn't work, then what I need you to do is just go into your meditative state, get very quiet, connect with the divine, and wait for an answer. That's the hardest part. Just wait. Send it up to the divine and wait for that part inside of you to speak. Okay. And more often than not, you'll get on the right track, or you'll start moving, and all of a sudden the course correction will pop up and you'll be back in the game again. Words create worlds. I noticed I'm healing my heart from narcissistic abuse. It seems I was bullied into believing I was not enough, deficient. I don't know how to change that recording. Oh, it's very simple. Very simple. Point to where you feel it in your body. Now, before I go any further with that, there are certain levels of work that need done that we can't do on ourselves unless we're really, really well trained. Okay. So this may be one of those forks in the road where you have to decide if I can do this by myself or I'm going to need some help. The process will be the same, but a lot of times the change work process is much easier if somebody is guiding you through it. So that being said, this is what you're doing. You point to where you feel it. You ask, when was the first time I remember feeling this way? Who was it with and who taught it to me? You unpack that event, and then you either use the magic frame to remove the safety lessons. You spin it into the direction that gives you what you want instead, and then you use color breathing to install a better version of that memory. And you just cycle through those techniques until you've got the feelings you want to have. Okay. Damien, pleasure to see you again. Greetings from Chile. Damien. Lord Insidious, I think I was wondering, what does it mean to see or hear basically encounter the same name daily without fail? Okay. I was wondering, what does it mean to see or hear basically encounter the same name daily without fail for over 10 years, the name of an ex? Okay. Well, first of all, if you keep hearing it, there's two not mutually exclusive possibilities. One, it's an extremely common name. And B, your reticular activating system has some unfinished baggage where that person is concerned. And it's drawing your attention every time that name is used so that you'll go inside and clean up that shit. That would be the Occam's razors version. That's the most that would be the most direct route, I would say. Hashreet Bular says, why no one actually talks about how to release childhood trauma? I would talk about it all the time. The problem is that a lot of people don't know how to release childhood trauma. They think they do, but when you ask them to demonstrate, they don't. So, but no, there's a lot of very competent people out there that can guide you through those processes. But why no one actually talks about it? I don't know that that's actually true. I know a lot of. Well, I think and again, I'm interpreting what you're saying is. I think and again, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you're actually saying here is, why do people always talk about about releasing childhood trauma, but they never talk about how to do it, or what's the process for that? I think that's what you're saying, and I've been giving that all day long. It's the same process, right? Like I said, I've been 20 years of this. To come up with the most heinous childhood event, it's a Thursday for me, right? And I'm not belittling anybody's traumas by any stretch of the imagination. It's just that regardless of how you got your trauma or what your trauma is, what age you got it, your nervous system built it all the same way. And once you understand the mechanics of that, and helping people through those resolution processes is a fairly straightforward process. The question becomes, do they really want to get rid of it? Are they how attached are they to it? Have they suffered enough to be willing to let it go? Right. And that's not really even a problem for the treatment room. It's a problem getting them to the treatment room, because if they're not ready to give it up, they won't show up. They'll find a reason not to. So I went off there a little bit. Hopefully my answer was somewhere in the ballpark of what you were asking me. Okay. Girl sees dragons. God, he's amazing. Who are we talking about? Who's amazing? Let's see here. I think this thing jumped on me again. So how to use the triad on intimidation about earning money? Exactly the same as the other example I gave. The first thing you have to decide is, am I qualified to do this on my own? You're never gonna. It's never a bad thing to try it on yourself first. But sometimes it's just it's just a lot easier to be the passenger and without being the driver. So you point to where you feel it. How young was I when I first felt these feelings, and who was it with? Right? You unpack it. You resolve the safety lessons. You spin it to get what you want instead. You install a new memory using color breathing. You future pace it, and you clean up, and you test to see if the feelings how the feelings have changed and what's there instead. It's a transformational pride. Again, for those of you who have stuff that you want to deal with and you want to do the DIY path, okay, the video I just posted last Monday, has all. It's probably one of the best treatments of that work I've done in a long time. I highly recommend you go back and review it, and then apply that to your understanding of the transformational triad. Okay. Mark Kane. Thanks a bunch, Doc. You truly are a gem, and the fact that you share your wisdom without reciprocity is very noble, and God will reward you more than you could ever comprehend. Thanks, sir. You're welcome. You're welcome. Live live the 7 at Simi. Big hand clap. Okay. Lottie says, I worry because I'm very sleepy because that's time difference, nighttime here when it's day for you. So definitely round spinning. Okay. Well, if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. You can always catch the replay. That's the beauty of YouTube. There's always a replay, right? Rick T says, what do we do to take our imagination to the next level to do magic like Franz Barton? The secret to doing the work the way Barton talks about it is this is something he doesn't put in the books. Okay. The first thing is you got to stop being serious. When I mean serious, I mean, right? You've got to be playful with this. Okay. Be playful and use your imagination like a little child uses their imagination. That's the first thing. Okay. The next thing is time and focus. So when you start to do the work in Barton's system, right, you have to use the imagination and the intention, and you have to pretend. And then you do that for, like, he would tell you work up to 5-10 minutes to do a certain drill. Most people try to go for 5 minutes. They can't do it. They can't do it because it's too big of a chunk for their conscious mind to focus. Those exercises, while laying the foundation for advanced magical practices and manifestation work, are actually designed to train in you the faculties of focus and concentration and imagination at the same time. Now, the problem is that when people try to concentrate, you'll see them doing this. Now, if you're concentrating and you feel tension in your body, that's effort. That's actually taking away from your concentration. So when you look at the time limits that Barton puts on things, chunk it down to like 15 or 30-second increments. Focus and just become absorbed in the process for 15 seconds. Take a 2-minute break. Come back, do 30 seconds again. Come back, do a 2-minute break. That's going to start to build that muscle in you, that integration of focus, concentration, imagination, and relaxation, because you have to be relaxed to do these things. Okay, this is why we keep talking about being playful and joyful and grateful. There are higher vibrations that lead to a different body state that allows your faculties to work better. Okay. Yes, it's fun to be joyful and playful. Yes, that's true. But the flip side of that is it's higher vibrational states. It allows you access to deeper resources. It opens up energy gates in your body that are normally closed because you're too fucking serious. Okay. But the problem is Barton is very metallic in his approach of that material. And so everything that he does comes across like he's standing over you with a cattle prod and a bullwhip, that if you make any mistake or you don't live up to 5 minutes, that you're somehow failing. That's the energy that if you read Barton from that taskmaster perspective, that's what you get. And it actually is a safeguard to make sure that the people who don't get it, right? So I'm giving you a little bit of key. Find the things that seem fun for you. Find the things that come easy. Chunk 5 minutes down to 15 seconds and just play with it and do it as long as it's fun. But keep practicing. because it's the magic. The magic is in the repetition. That's how you get there. You're not gonna quantum leap it, okay? Especially if you're following Barton's system, right? You have to do the work. Now, as you do the work in Barton's system, interesting things will start to happen. You'll start finding shortcuts. You'll start getting intuitions and downloads that say, now do this, or now do this. And that's the process. That's the initiation. The initiation doesn't, you can read Barton from cover to cover 4, 5, 6 times and not get anything from it other than an interesting idea. But the moment you start applying a piece of the work here and a piece of the work there, and you come at it with the devotion necessary, but that fun, this is something I get to do, not something I must do, right? This is fun for me. Now you'll start to get these downloads, and these, the book will fall open and a page will pop up, and right on that page is the next thing that opens up a zip file in your head. Okay. That's how the work is. That's how it works. Right. I don't know how and a lot of hermetic systems have those kinds of safeguards on a vibrational level in them. If you don't do the work, you won't get the deeper teachings. You have to qualify for those. That only comes from doing the reps. Okay, so that was a very long drawn out answer, Brick, but that's how it works in my experience. Vidya Shrivasatan. Hello from Bangalore, India. I've been consistently listening to your videos first thing in the morning for the last 2 months. I feel shifted and grown. Thank you. You are welcome. Simi, thank you, Dr. David. Yeah, it's been a while. I'll be more active now onwards. Good. We miss you. Ether, I had difficulty finding color breathing, or I misidentified it. Could you describe it? It's really simple, right? Think of something you want to change. Point to where you feel it. Close your eyes. Notice there's a color connected to that feeling. What's the color? First impression. If your higher mind can send you a feeling, a frequency, a vibration, or a color that would completely dissolve that negative color in that XYZ part of your body, what color or colors might it send you? Imagine a ball of that energy floating above your head. Fill the room with it. Wrap it around you. Breathe it through the negative color and watch it shift. Okay, that's kindergarten, but that's kindergarten color breathing. We have about 7 or 8 levels of color breathing that we teach in regression. So if you want to learn that, the deeper levels of it. And by the way, that's still just the beginning of what you can do with colors. So where can you find the venues to offer your seminars? Is this an editorial you, Matthew, or are you asking where my venues are? Cynthia, hey, David, Lakshay Aurora retracted her message, or his message, or its message, or what about when we talk to other people and come out of that feeling sensitive? What can we do? Okay, live the 7. You're going to have to give me more context. Girl sees dragons. Nature has a sense of humor. The dragons will kisses, wink, and smile big. It's awesome. I can't wait to show the world. All right. Shamik is asking, what do you think is the best way to drive motivation and determination at the moment of waking? I would start by, this is going to be fun. The moment you wake up, you're lying there in that little brown or that little drowsy, happy state. Realize you have an opportunity to have fun today. You get to make some changes. You get to do it. You don't have to do it, right? Focus on the things you want and go for it. One of the biggest challenges that we have a lot of times is that we see something that we become passionate about. We're highly motivated. We're highly determined. And we start on that journey. And somewhere during that journey, we forget why we're doing it, why we started that in the first place. And what became an exciting adventure, a vision quest, for lack of a better word, now becomes a drudgery. It becomes a job. It becomes something I have to do. It's something that's being forced on me and imposed on me. For a lot of us, the most powerful thing that we can do for ourselves is to stop and remember, ask ourselves, why did I do this in the first place? What was the reason that I embarked on this journey? And is that still true for me? And if it is, keep going, right? Because what happened is you stopped focusing on the goal and started focusing on the tasks. And that will always, without fail, in my experience, that will always end up in a loss of motivation and determination. We have to stop and remember why we started something and continually ask ourselves, is that still true? Because if it's still true, it's still worth doing. And do you deserve it? Is it worthwhile for you to do those things? And I think if you just do that, especially if when you go to bed at night, when you get up in the morning, you're going to find that your ability to get up and just go to work. And when I mean work, I mean the work that fills your spirit, that accomplishes the goal, is much easier. Right? Let's see here. The energetic helper. Is there an alternative to increasing neuroplasticity besides coffee, nicotine, or chocolate? Yes. I want to cleanse. I want to increase learning acceleration while getting through this part. Thanks. Okay. Energetic helper. Remember, this is the politically incorrect channel. So we're going to start with the most politically incorrect neurotransmitter booster I can think of. 20 minutes of hardcore, nonstop machine gun orgasms. I guarantee you will make you highly neuroplastic. Okay? Laughter, hugs for about 20 minutes. We'll do it. Transdermal electromagnetic or electrical stimulation to various parts of your brain is a powerful way to accelerate neuroplasticity. Okay? Foods high in GABA will allow you to become more neuroplastic. It's a good place to start. My favorite is the orgasms, but this is a family channel. No, it isn't. So hopefully that you get that point there. Okay. Okay. I got a question. How do you recommend reframing someone's values? Do you reframe the values they give you, or do you use the words they give you in your reframe to change it? You are not going to reframe somebody's value. What you can reframe is their template or the checklist they use to satisfy that value. So the more you know about how they satisfy the value, the more powerfully you can change that checklist. Susan says, kindergarten is still very effective. Amen, sister. When I say kindergarten, by the way, it's kindergarten for Planet David people. It's like Mondo Supremo, PhD level magic wizard stuff for most people outside of Planet David. And I know that sounds really arrogant, but I get in front of a lot of people. And I've seen what they're doing. Yeah, I'm very proud of what we do here. I'm very proud of you guys as a family and what you have done with the work. Because to me, that's what matters. It's not that I can do it. It's that you can do it. That's when you know a system is you've truly done something powerful and you've changed the world, is when you have this thing and you share it with people and they take it and they just they go and they start transforming, and it's this rippling domino effect, right? Shows that I'm not delusional and I'm not special. It's something we can all do. We all have this magic inside of us that's just waiting to be unleashed, to be expressed. And so when I get something and I can share it and I can see the changes and the lights come on, that's the most amazing part. But there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of systems out there that are not delivering the promises that they make. And we have to apply discernment to everything. My stuff is no different, right? I don't expect you to take anything I say at face value, even though I'm a face reader, right? I want you to test it. And I apply that same standard to everything I encounter. And if it doesn't pass the test, I don't use it and I don't teach it, right? Everything works for somebody. Nothing works for everybody. Okay. Brick T says, David, give us an update on what exciting stuff you experienced or new stuff you come across in research. Oh, no, no, no. The stuff I've come across the past 48 hours is exciting and terrifying to me. Because even if half of it's true, I don't know that I want that shit out there. And I'm shocked that certain people put it in their books. So I'm going to be very careful in the karma I reap and who I teach that stuff to. I will teach it, but I got to know you, right? So, like I said, I'm the guy that holds nothing back. But the students have to level up. They have to self-select to be the people that get taught. I'll set the criteria for the access to the information, but you guys are the ones that have to decide if you deserve it or not me. Okay, and that means becoming the person who deserves to have it in whatever way that is. I had to do the same thing. It's the lessons and the barriers to entry were no different for me than they are for you, except I make it easier, which I'm probably going to pay for at some point. But let's see here. I got a question. How do you recommend? Okay, I did that one. Initiation in hermetics. I'm curious for Magic Frame. Is it normal to write safety lessons a lot longer than? Yes, a lot longer than you just thought. Yes, in fact, it's actually quite common, especially if you're someone who's very metallic or very detail oriented. A lot of times you think it's going to be one or two things, and all of a sudden you're writing a chapter for War and Peace. It doesn't matter how long you got to write; you just keep going, right? But yeah, it's not uncommon at all. It's also not uncommon to have deep physical and emotional purgings while you're doing the Magic Frame. It doesn't seem like it would be a technique that would cause those kinds of responses, but it's actually quite common. So if you start doing that, just keep writing. That's the secret. The worst thing you can do when you're doing a Magic Frame and the body starts to abreact and purge and purify is to stop. You keep that finger moving, you keep writing until everything is on that screen and everything else has been let go. That's the secret, right? For those of you who are therapists or coaches and are using the Magic Frame, the worst thing you can do for your client if they start having physical responses like that is to let them stop. Now, I'm not the person in the room with you. I don't control your liability insurance. I don't control your malpractice or anything like that. So the decision to stop or not stop is entirely on you. Therapeutically, what I've seen is that keeping them writing is the fastest way to get it out. And they've always been with every client I've done it with, they've always been better off afterwards. Right. So put that out there. Jeff Smith says it's worth more than the money. Okay. Thanks for the answers. Laughing already. Cheers. Good. Before my intro to hypnosis, I thought mantra chanting that I was practicing was working and that the mantra has meaning. So technically a suggestion, and then I was repeating, attaining trance, and it worked. Okay, I don't know if there's a question there, but thermonuke, but if there is, please re-ask it. Alessandro says, David, I have a lot of difficult decisions I have to make in the coming months. One of them being if I should leave the country for school. How do I know if I'm making the right decision? What do you want? In other words, what's the goal? What's the goal, right? If I want to be a certain kind of person with a certain kind of profession and have a certain kind of life, and in order to have that, I have to have this level of training and schooling. But to do that, I have to leave everything, give up everything or a good chunk of the things I've gotten accustomed to. Which is more important to you? Staying the same or becoming that person? Or to be more precisely, what's more important to you? Staying the same and not having it, or risking everything and getting it? There's only one person who can answer that question, and that's you. But it's a very simple one. Which is more important? Keeping what you have or becoming something different? Right? It's a simple question, but it's not easy. But a lot of times the choices we make in life really do come down to that. Do I want to hold on to everything and give that up? Or do I risk this? And risk meaning I could lose it, I might not. And go for that. And getting that is a risk because I could get it and find out it's not what I want, right? I'm going to suggest that regardless of what decision you make, the worst decision you could make is the one that keeps you the same. I'm just putting that out there. Okay. What's my process for making difficult decisions? What's it going to get me? What's it going to, what am I going to have to give up to get it? What can I do with what I get? That's pretty much my decision-making process, right? Am I willing to pay, sacrifice, or give up what's required for me to have that? And if I do that, what is it going to do for me? What can I do with that information? Who will I be as a byproduct of that decision? Right? Again, the worst decision we can make is the one that keeps us the same. That's my opinion. As one of my more colorful mentors used to say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one, and most of them stink. So, anyway, moving on. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Lots of questions today. I have done past life regression multiple times as a part of regular therapy, and I use the 4 magic bullets induction, and then usually affect bridge, theater of the mind. What about meditation? You can't be playful. Of course you can. Can you be playful? What about meditation? You can't be playful there, can you? Of course you can. In fact, it's the best place to be playful. Also, Rudolf Steiner, who meditated upon, trust me, I guarantee you, when he went into his meditations, he was not feeling sad. He was not feeling serious. He was not feeling angry. He was in a relaxed, joyful, grateful, receptive state. He was not trying to make anything happen. Okay. The energetic helper, thanks for the answers. Laughing already. Cheers. Keita's asking, will I ever come to Australia? Not anytime soon. I was just there last May, but I will be back at some point because I have people there that are waiting for me to come back and teach. David is talking about the Philosopher's Stone, where even death is brought to life and forbidden human hybrids from where the okay. Yeah, I got nothing for that. Teresa, there's multiple timelines at Alessandro. Whatever you choose, you'll reach the point you need to be on the okay. Put it in the frame. Jeff says, I wonder if scary movies will cause neuroplasticity. I do not know. I would wager that they will cause a type of neuroplasticity, but not necessarily the kind that you want. So live the 7. To clarify from my previous question, sometimes when I talk to someone, I feel sensitive to negativity afterwards, and I'm not sure what to do about it. More dredging. So the question I would have to ask 7 is, what's the nature of the conversations that you're having that cause you to have that sensitivity? Ether Arch says, how can I become David and be as creative and productive as you? I'm still trying to figure that out. I still don't figure out how I do it. I don't consider myself all that creative, honestly. I look at all the free time I have and think I'm the laziest slug on the planet. Others would argue with me, but I'm always trying to find more ways to get more done than I'm currently doing. But thank you for that. Probably the secret is have fun. It really is. if you're focusing on becoming absolutely fascinated and passionate and be in you always find time for the things you love. And if you're not finding time for the things you love, you've got a priority problem. Right? And that's just how I look at it. I've always guided, there's probably a lot of little Davidisms that I use to run my life, but there's some big ones that just pop up in this context. The first one is focus on what you're passionate about and go deep. Take care of the things that take care of you. So your job, your car, your insurance policies, the bills, things like that. Take care of the things that take care of you, right? And then focus on the things you're passionate about and find ways to monetize it. Right? That's how I live my life. And trust that inner knowing that tells you a direction is right, even when everybody else says no. Trust that no matter what decision you make, you'll wind up where you're supposed to be to learn what you're supposed to learn. Someone needed to hear that. I have no idea who. Who little old me, Australia says, I like opinion. Australia's like opinions. Trust me, I live there. It's okay to keep my dreams and goals above the expectations and dreams that my family has for me. 100%. At the end of the day, it's not your family's life. It's not their dreams and goals. It's yours that matter. Right? One of the byproducts of becoming increasingly spiritual is you'll tend to become increasingly more antisocial. And what I mean by that is it doesn't mean you're going to become an asshole. What it means is as you become more and more certain, and as you become reminded over and over and over again of who you truly are, where you come from, and why you're here, the rules and the belief systems and the demands and the expectations that society, education, religion have imposed on you, that your peer groups have imposed on you, will become less and less and less powerful and important to you. And you'll find yourself shifting those groups, those peer groups especially, to match who you truly are and what you want to become. And that's one of the things that, once again, is a universal. As you become more fully on your golden path, your Ming, your destiny, your spiritual mission, you get on the fast track to becoming the best version of you that you came here to be. Not that your family wants you to be, or the church wants you to be, or the government wants you to be, or your educational system or your men's or boys clubs want you to be, but that you want you to be. And the more solid and firm you are, that your path is uniquely for you. And as you embrace that, you bring more of your light into the world, and by proxy, you elevate everybody else. That's been my experience. Those are the teachings I've been exposed to, and I've seen it to be true more and more and more. All right. We got time for a few more questions. Let me see what I've got here. I'm going to work from the bottom up really quick. Anthony is asking if you're able to do readings. Oh, wait a minute. It just jumped. Able to do readings and describe strangers perfectly. Would that have a similar effect on them as matching their criteria and values? No. And the reason I say that is reading somebody and describing them perfectly will throw them into a massive trance. It will create massive compliance, but it doesn't necessarily emotionally bond them to the actions you want them to take. What it does do is make any values, elicitation, and bonding that you do hyper effective. Like you needed it when you do emotional bonding, but so that's a good question. Sometimes I think I'm picking up their energy. So what you want to do is you want to start developing better psychic shields, cleaning up your own stuff, and learning how to seal your energy field, which all of those things we're going to be actually teaching and unleashing the magic within in July. So for those of you who want to go deep dive into stuff about psychic self-defense and attack, because we're going to be teaching both sides of that, sign up for Unleashing the Magic. This is one of the reasons why I'm not sure I'm ever going to teach it again. Because I'm actually going to be teaching psychic defense, self-defense, and psychic attack. Because if you don't know how to launch a psychic attack, you don't understand how to defend against it. So the way we test our defenses is by attacking them. And so that's what we're going to be doing. right? So if you're ready for some hardcore magic meets hypnosis wrapped in a big blanket of NLP, um, jump into Unleashing the Magic Within coming up in July. Um, Keita's asking, do I believe addiction is disease or simply an entrenched bad habit? What's the difference? What's the difference? Are you familiar with Marco Pere's mesmerism technique? No, I'm not familiar with Marco Pere's mesmerism technique. Oh, you said Dr. Pere. Yes, I am. And have you ever tried it? I've done it. I've got stuff that I'm teaching in Unleashing the Magic that there's stuff that Marco's not teaching you to the general public because he's a hermeticist behind closed doors. Anything interesting I got from Gurdjieff? I've actually never read his books. A lot of my teachers have, but I haven't. Lakshay Ora, thank you so much, David. Words create worlds. I'm curious, how would you help someone with suicidal thoughts? Call 911. If you're not trained uh, to deal with people who are potentially suicidal, you shouldn't be. You should be turning those things over to people who are, in fact, qualified to do that work. I know that sounds like an asshole thing to say, but it's the safest thing I can tell you, right? You know, when you're a medical practitioner, one of the things that they spend quite a bit of time on is when somebody starts talking about self-harm and things like that, there's certain questions that you ask that let you know, is this person actually in danger, potentially in danger of doing it, right? Um, and that's training, right? Oh, if somebody talks about committing suicide or things like that, always take it seriously, even if they're not, and refer them to somebody who's trained to do that work, right? Get yourself out of that chain of events or communications as quickly as possible. Um, Sometimes words create worlds says sometimes I feel I'll never heal from certain childhood experiences. That's because you're not ready to let them go yet, or you haven't found the person that you're willing to trust enough to guide you through that process. But trust me, there's nothing inside of us. Let me rephrase this. Everything that you think you'll never heal from, this is not just for words, this is for all of you. Everything you think you'll never heal from, you've already beaten. Okay? Because the thing that you're not healing from was something that was trying to kill you. At least that's how your nervous system interpreted it. The very fact that you're walking the planet Earth able to remember that feeling that you think you'll never heal from means you beat whatever it is. Well, you already succeeded in overcoming the thing that attacked you. All that's left now is the memory of it. That's all that's left. So when do you want to let go of the memory? When do you want to stop being your own victim? It sounds like a hard thing to say, but it's functionally true. There's nothing inside of us that we can't heal from. And there's nothing inside of us, any memory anyway, or anything that's memory based, that we haven't already beaten. The rest is just cleanup. Okay. David, please tell me any technique of money magnet mastery, AMA, platinum level. Reference my earlier comment on providing value, because to me, that's the secret. That's the secret formula for making money. Providing a huge value, demanding a certain level of value in return, getting in front of as many different people to make that offer as possible. Just keep going. Money will come to you hand over fist if you can do that. Everything else is just mechanics. Okay. Let's see here. Jeff says, I play chess every day. What's this doing to my brain? I have no idea, but hopefully it's building in new strategic cortical connections that allow you to win more games. Cigar says, I want to know that if I teach powerful seduction techniques to others and they misuse it to hurt others, will I get the bad karma for that? Quite possibly, yes. Quite possibly. If you teach a technique to people that you know are going to misuse it, now let me be very clear, that you know are going to misuse it, then you're responsible for that karma. If you teach a technique that has potentially negative applications to somebody, you vet those people first. You have a reasonable level of confidence that they will not misuse it. You make them promise not to misuse it. You let your spiritual higher ups know that this person has been taught, he's made a promise not to misuse it. Watch him or her. Now, if they misuse it, chances are they're going to reap what they sow. Right? But if you put stuff out there, this is one of the reasons why there's certain things I won't teach you guys. Right? At least until I know you. If you're one of my megas or my platinums, then you're here because you're not here because of the money. You're here because I actually think you're a person of high character and quality. But the same rules apply, right? I'm not a persuasion cop. I demand that you use all of my techniques and tools in strict accordance with your own sense of personal ethics. And you're responsible for what you do with it. Okay? Karma's a thing. And you can do anything you want as long as you're willing to pay the freight, which is what karma really is. It's just cause and effect. Karma is not crime and punishment. Karma is cause and effect. So depending on which school of thought or spiritual college you embrace, that law of karma may be more restrict or less strict. But at the end of the day, why would you teach a dangerous technique to somebody who's potentially going to go out and hurt people? Right? That's the reason why a lot of this was kept secret in the first place. Right? That's one of the reasons. Okay. So again, we're the good Jedi. We understand how to do all these other things so we can protect ourselves and other people from them. But at the end of the day, we don't need to use these negative things or potentially negative things because we got all the positive ways to get better results. So at the end of the day, right, you're responsible for what you do here. And to some degree, you're responsible for what other people do with what you do with what you teach them. But a lot of that karma is based on the rules that you set up in the transmission of that information. Right? If you know that somebody's got 2/3 of a dark triad set of personality traits, and you teach them how to overshadow a person and make them become your sex slave, and they start, energetically vampiring the life essence out of people because they can do that now, well, that's on you. Right? There's going to be some balancing that needs to happen. I'm using an extreme metaphysical example, but there are people in my class who came to Planet David because somebody from my channel used a technique on their wife or their husband and broke the relationship. There's only so much I can control, right? That's kind of the catch-22 of karma. I taught this the other day to my coaching clients, and please take this explanation about karma not as David giving you a pass to do whatever you want, or that karma doesn't matter. But understand that karma isn't good versus bad like everybody thinks it is. Okay. So the example I gave my students was, let's say that you're an ER doctor, right? And the police bring in this guy who's got multiple gunshot wounds. And your job is to save that person's life. And as you're operating and you're pulling out the bullets and you're putting this person's life back together, you find out that the person on your table is a serial killer who just murdered 37 people. Right? You do your job, you do the right thing, right? You may have mixed feelings about it now, right? But your job, the right thing to do, the oath you've made is to save this person's life because that's what's important. That's what matters. That's the right thing to do. They wheel him to his room. 3 days later, he escapes, kills 37 more people. Who gets the karma? Some schools of thought would say, you do. Some schools of thought would say, you don't. Some schools of thought would say, you didn't do anything wrong. The answer is yes. And here's the long and short of it. And this is something I'll happily argue this with anybody, but it's no point in arguing it. Every negative thing that you do will have negative implications. The further down the line you go, it will also have positive implications. So for every negative thing that happens, positive things will happen as a result of it. For every positive thing you do, somewhere down the line, there's going to be a negative consequence. It's inevitable. How do we balance that? Well, it's balanced if you think about it. The basic rule is this. If you're not willing to pay for what you've done, don't do it. Positive or negative. If you're not willing to pay the price for doing what you're doing, either immediately or in the long term, this life or next, don't do it. That's the law. That's really functionally how it plays out. This is one of the reasons, and again, I kind of letting the cat out of the bag here, but this is one of the reasons why all the mystery schools and all these religious-based systems spend so much time teaching you a code of conduct, teaching you a set of morals and rules to live by. Because the deeper you go into the spiritual, metaphysical, mystical practices, the less rules there are. The more things you can actually do. And if you ever get to the point where you tap into your power and you don't have that code of conduct as your rudder, you could become a force for chaos and just wreak havoc on yourself and the world. Okay. That's really the reason behind a lot of the moral and ethical teachings that we've been given. In the off chance that we become part of the mystery school and we get access to these skills and these abilities and stuff like that, that we don't become a curse on the world, because we can be, right? One of my teachers taught me that the training of a dark wizard, a dark mystic, is exactly the same as a good one, or someone who practices white. They're exactly the same. The difference is intent. Okay. So hopefully that karmic questions come up quite a bit. The bottom line is you can do anything you want as long as you're willing to pay the freight. To quote the old Beretta song by Sammy Davis Jr. used to sing, "Don't do the crime if you can't do the time." Alex Mueller says, "I like you, David. You tell the truth." Marie Hand, why am I so sensitive to negative energy and tonality? That's a great question. You'd have to ask God. I don't know. All right. So I think, so Jeff is asking me, my mom tried to choke me to death when I was around 6 or 7. Can you tell me what this has done to me? Absolutely not, Jeff. There's only two agencies in the universe that know the answer to that question. That's God and your unconscious mind. I want to know how flirting can be used for profit. I use it all the time to get past gatekeepers. Anytime you make somebody who's a gatekeeper like you, or who's in charge of customer service, make them like you, they will move heaven and earth to make sure you get the best service humanly possible. I use it all the time. Ooh, little old me says money won't make you happy. No, but it lets you shop in better places, and that can make you happy. Alina says, the best thing in my humble opinion is that you explain the process really well with facts, because our brain likes to tick the box. Yes, it does. All right. Ether Arch says, what is a good method of ensuring the things you teach are used for good? Make people promise to use them for good. Make sure that you're connected to a spiritual lineage that will oversee and protect the information that you're sharing. And let the people that you're training know that this is what your expectations are, and that misuse of that information will be preceded by publicly announcing everything they've done to the entire community, and excommunication from the group, and whatever spiritual penalties there are for that will be leveled by the guardians, right? One of the things that is very common in these advanced mystical communities is when somebody actively misuses the information, the first thing that the head people do is they stand up in front of the entire community and let people know what this person has been doing, and then kick them out, right? And this is something, it sounds like something a cult would do, and it is. But if you're dealing with people like narcissists, dark triads, Machiavellians, the thing that bothers them the most is when the things they've been up to become public. The fastest way to get them to beat feet or back down is to make the things that they're doing public knowledge, right? Shadows can't exist in the light of day, right? So there's good and bad points to that. But again, set the rules, make sure people live by the rules, and enforce the rules when people break them. It's really that what it comes down to. Antron says, hey, Doc, you still offering the 100? You're talking about the mega program? Yes, we are, Antron. We're still offering it. But we're vetting people much more closely now. So if we think that if you petition to get in the program, but we don't think it's a good fit for you, we're not going to let you in. I'm using the editorial you, not you specifically, but I've had people like literally pauper themselves to try and get in the program, and we're not going to have that on us. So you have to be to do that level of interaction with me. You got to be pretty committed and have you have to be pretty resourced to do that. There's lots of other ways to get there besides the mega program, but that's where a lot of the really serious people end up. Blute, as a guy, how to be respected in a relationship, or at least not get walked over by men? It's very simple. Know your values, know your boundaries, and call people on it when they cross your boundaries. It's really simple. Call people on their bullshit, right? Let's see here. Live this out. I'm curious how you figure out what to give away for free as a result of that. Well, a lot of it is I teach Everything, here's the thing you gotta understand, and I shouldn't even say this, but everything I teach you in the context of helping people and of making people's lives better and how to get everything you want in the easiest, ethical, and most honest way possible. You need to understand something, that everything I teach you in the wrong hands has the capacity for tremendous harm. Now, I don't teach people that because I'm not going to make it easy. But anything that's real, anything that's truly powerful, is a sword that has two edges. And you are the person wielding that sword. So you get to decide which side of that yin yang polarity are you on, right? At any given moment, because it changes. Is karma just cause and effect? Ultimately, yes. Some people like to make it a lot more complicated, but it's not all that much more complicated. If you really stop and think about things like the butterfly effect, and you start to see that you're just creating ripples, right? This is actually one of the reasons, and again, this came to me the other day. This is actually the reason why it's like why people go quiet and commune with God about what the right thing to do is. Because only that higher power sees the big picture and knows all the quantum connections. And so when you stop and you go quiet and you ask the divine, what's the right thing to do? And you get that download and you take that information, there's going to be positive and negative karmic repercussions from that. You're going to send out waves. But my belief, and it's purely my belief, that when you get that divine inspiration, what you've done is taken the optimal path for growth. Of all the different paths you could have taken and all the different ripple effects and patterns that you could have triggered by the decisions that you make, the one you got from source is the optimal one. Does that make sense? That's how I look at it. So when I'm wondering what the right thing to do is, I'll go quiet and I'll just ask God, what's the right thing to do here? And I'll just wait. And I'll know in my heart, there's a feeling that I get, and I'll take that action. And sometimes it means putting up a lot of money for something upfront or incurring a cost I could have easily walked away from. But it was the right thing to do. And even though I don't see how what I'm about to endure could possibly have positive, come out. At the end, when I get on the other side of it, miracles happen. Things come out of nowhere. Right? Now, I don't go in expecting that. I just do the right thing because that's what I'm supposed to do. But that's what I think the real idea about going inside and connecting is how we navigate that cause and effect our mechanism that's always in place. Okay, let's see here. Live the Seven says, thank you, David. I'm feeling called to dive more deeply into your work. Well, great. We're here. Little niece says, drama queens. Lakshay says, what are the thoughts on the book Reality Transurfing? Honestly, I own 2 copies of it. I haven't read it yet. So I'll get to it eventually. I like that they start off by talking about egregores. Johnny Throwoff says, I heard that you say marijuana is a memory retardant. I quit that night after 18 years. Well done. Bravo. And that I've said that a few years back. Since then, I've learned even more terrifying things about that particular drug that I will not go near that with a 10-foot pole. There are other things I would take before I would take marijuana. It's just not good for you. It's bad. Len says, David, watching you teach from the heart and your never-ending compassion for helping people earns my respect. You called me a fanboy. Oh boy. Linus is clapping. Monty says, do you believe in the devil? Absolutely. With clear thinking, choices are easy. Hope everyone is feeling good tonight. Alina says, you talk about shadows and light, and according to Matthias De Stefano, the guy that remembers his previous life, they are both connected in the sense that you won't be able to see the dark. That's true, because we live in duality. Psychedelics have helped my memory. Yeah. David, I want to know any occult techniques for enemy removal when the enemies become so much oppressive that you are in stress and panic, even while in your house. Okay. 1 through 10, pulling down the heavens, 3 divine invocations. Start there. After that, you can do rings of light. You can do the Anlan, Anqilin talismans. You can use purifying the way talisman. You can, there's so many ways to do stuff, right? What do you have access to? You ask me about books all the time, Sagar. I know you have a ton of books in your library that have all kinds of techniques, right? The question is, have you done the cultivation to make it functional, right? How does the devil exist? Well, you'd have to ask God, because I didn't create the universe and I didn't create the devil. So, Keto, what's your view on depolarization? I don't know what you mean by depolarization. Robin, what could be the best rite of passage for men during these modern times? I think that really depends on what part of the country you're living in and what level of pushback you're willing to tolerate. I think for men, you're never going to go wrong looking at primal positive masculine traits, classic primal positive masculine traits. And the reason I say that has nothing to do with culture directly, but has everything to do with what a nervous system is primed to respond to most powerfully and consistently. And I think you need to take those core traits and you need to filter them through the forms that society deems acceptable. But if I were going to take a group of young men and put them through a rite of passage, I would put them through a series of experiences that teach them to trust each other, to express their feelings in a positive way, to realize it's okay to be afraid and do the thing anyway, to be protectors, to stand up for what they believe is right, no matter what around them is saying it. And I would actually probably have them actually take a position that maybe they don't believe in, but we're going to pretend that they do, and have people attack them. I would put them through things that are going to reflect the kinds of situations and circumstances that they're going to encounter in a society where people may not agree with you and try to vilify you for being true to your beliefs. I would teach them the difference between a moral and a value, and things of that nature. So, rite of passage, slaying mastodons is kind of fallen out of vogue, but I don't think that would suck either. I would definitely teach them how to fight, but I would also teach them how not to fight, right? And then I'd probably, how to respect all people. That's just my moral teachings, right? I'm not a Viking, so anyway, I hope that helps. And I've never been asked that question before, so I had to really think about that. Johnny Throwoff says, David, will you ever teach an acupuncture class? No, at least not directly. I will teach Chinese medicine, and I will teach energetic medicine for sure. But the acupuncture part, unless you're already an acupuncturist, I can't teach that to you. I can teach you everything else, but I can't do the acupuncture part because you got to be licensed. In fact, I'm thinking in the future of actually offering CEU classes for face reading, energetic medicine, qigong, mind, shen gong, and things of that nature. Kathleen M. Hi, David. Hi back. Can you recommend in Australia to study NLP or hypnosis? Yes. If I will post it in the comments. His name is Saul. I can't remember his last name. Saul was one of my hypnosis students. He worked NLP with me, but he also spent a lot of time with the Society of NLP, and he certifies to them. So he's out in. You know what, let me just look it up real quick. I only got to convert a couple more questions, and I got a jet. So. See if I can find this. Saul Kent Ross is the guy's name. If you can find his contact information, I would recommend him if you're in Australia. Alina says, do you agree that anything, mind, disease, cancer? Yes, I believe it absolutely. I believe more things can be cured than can't. How can we challenge woke people in a productive way? Here's my question. Challenge them in what way? Why do you want to challenge them? What's the point of challenging them? Emmanuel Lane says, thanks, that helped. Kita says, good question. Have you ever had to work with alcoholics in sobriety that were trying to have better relationships that have only dated when using? I don't think I have. I've worked with alcoholics, but not in that context. Robin says, what is the best martial art to learn as a small guy? Wing Chun. Wing Chun and Filipino martial arts. David, I'm curious, did you ever come to a college in New Jersey called Ramapo College in Mawa? There was a hypnotist there? No, that wasn't me. Loot, how do I call people on their bullshit? I tend to criticize and it leads to bad outcomes. Okay, this is the last question I'm going to have time to answer. Here's the question. Why is it necessary to call people on their bullshit? When you're faced with somebody's presenting something that you don't believe and you want to challenge them, ask yourself why. Human beings have a natural desire to correct the record, but is it necessary? Is it necessary? There's three rules. Is it necessary? Is it true? Is it kind? If it violates any of those three rules, don't say it. It's that simple. People talk to me all the time about stuff that I know is completely bogus and full of shit, but they believe it, and it forms the foundation of their life and how they live, and they're happy with it. So I just nod and smile, and I acknowledge their right to believe it. And and you're already discovering this. This is the important thing. As you go through the different trainings and things that we teach in Planet David, however that is for you, whether you spend 5 years at the free content level, you jump in at the mega level, you are constantly going to be going through transformations in what you thought was true. Okay, what the truths you held as your sacred cows and a month ago will be very different a month later. Okay. Nobody will ever thank you for kicking over their idols. No one will ever thank you for decimating their belief system. Okay? So don't do it. Unless there's an absolute need for it. Don't do it. Give people the freedom to believe and act the way they want to believe and act. Judge any value system that you're presented with based on the results it produces, not on whether it's true or not. True and not true is just bullshit. The deeper you get into this, the more you realize that there's very little capital T true and very little capital F false. Okay? So When you encounter a belief system that's different from yours, is the person being effective at getting the things they want in their life based on the value system they have? If it is, leave it alone. Same thing with you. If you have a belief system that's giving you the life you want, the way you want it, that's moving you forward and makes you feel whole and your best version of yourself, keep it. Doesn't matter if it's true. What matters is that it gives you the life you want. Help people find that. If a person is obviously working from a belief system that isn't helping them, ask them questions that might lead them to change their perspective on something themselves, not from you. Right? This is where renegade reframing and stuff like that we taught. That's actually one of the really powerful things about that course. Is it's by asking questions and asking and stating possibilities that people have spontaneous shifts in their belief system that change the quality of their lives. But the moment you go around attacking other people because you can, because you want to be right, because you want to occupy the moral high ground, that's ego. That's ego, right? Be effective. Don't try to be right. Be effective. All right, guys. Thanks so much. I've clicked off 2 or 3 calls. Kevin, truth should always be more important. It should be. It should be, but it isn't. And that's the difference between operating from a map about the way the world should be versus dealing with the world the way it is. As you start peeling back the layers, those 2 things start to morph. All right. Love you guys. Remember, join us on the webinar tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific. I may or may not be giving away some VIP tickets for Unleashing the Magic if you guys grab our webinar offer.